Hi, everyone. It's Jennifer Rosen with Mind Your Nest. Thank you so much for coming back for episode 3. Really, episode 2, not including the trailer. But it's Thursday, which means it's recording day. And I'm sitting here with my producer, Janine, who is really going to put me in the hot seat today. She's going to ask me a bunch of different questions, helping me articulate how I got here. The who, what, where, when, why, and everything in between. I'm really excited.
I'm excited too.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
So she's going to ask me, probably from the jump, mind your nest. What is it? Where did it come from? How'd you come up with the name? What does it mean to you? We're going to take a couple turns. We're going to turn down a few side streets. Being a Midwestern girl from the suburbs of Chicago, if you don't learn how to navigate the side streets and alleyways, you're never going to learn your way around the city. So we're going to do that here.
That's a good analogy.
Thank you. And we're going to have a great time doing it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I am humbled and honored to be a guest on your show, Mind Your Nest, who you have over 14 ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. Listeners, rate Jennifer Rosen's Mind Your Nest. This is such a great podcast to be introduced to. And today we're going to do a deep dive into Miss Jennifer Rosen and how she acquired this name. And I cannot wait to hear the answer. So here we go, Jennifer. I would first and foremost, mind your nest is such a great phrase. And I think a lot of people have been saying that. It's a term as Americans that we use. So when did you first encompass that into the mantra, so to speak, for you and your business and now your podcast?
So I'm going to go back a few years, and I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to think about where the idea of mind your nest came from at its core, because it's really not a new idea for me. It's actually how I was raised. I was really lucky. I really was. Sometimes I don't think it's all about luck. I just think we had the right personalities in the house. My mother, my father, my older brother, my younger brother, and our dog, my grandparents. I used to ask my parents, I think when I was in my early 20s, like, how'd you do it? Did you sprinkle magic dust on us while we were sleeping? What was it? And I'm not saying, obviously, every day I woke up and did cartwheels in the kitchen. That wasn't like that. There were definitely some issues that I had personally growing up. I was overweight. I would eat M&Ms on my bed and separate the colors. I would start eating the green and then go to the red. I had plain M&Ms on one side of my yellow bedspread and then the peanut M&Ms on the other. I was heavy. My mother wanted me to eat carrots and celery when I got home from school. And all I wanted to do was go up in my room, separate the M&Ms, and eat. Back then, we didn't talk about being depressed, being unhappy, having issues. It was just a thing. Of course we had issues. We're human. Not every day was rainbows and bubblegum. But at its core, I always knew that my parents were my original set of bookends. They held me up, whether literally or figuratively, and I knew they were always there. I always knew that I was loved, and I knew that I mattered to them. And it was a reciprocal relationship right from the start. And my brothers were my second set of bookends. My older brother, my younger brother, of course, we had sibling rivalry like any family, but I always knew that they were there if anything ever happened. So I think that foundation of love and mattering, and that it was all about family. We kept family conversations to family. We had talks at the dinner table. We talked about happy things, and we talked about not so happy things. But we did it as a family, and we just kept it there. It was private. We kept it to each other. I just always got the sense that we mind our business, we take care of family first, we focus on ourselves, as an individual and then as a collective, as the family, with a little humor, a lot of sarcasm, of course, lots of ice cream. And we just took it step by step and did the best we could. And I think that was pretty frickin' fabulous, if I have to say so myself.
How many brothers do you have?
An older brother, Jeffrey, younger brother, Jimmy. However, Jimmy went by Jim when I worked for him because he was my boss. And then my dad, Jay, went by not Dad, but Jay at the office too. And I love my brothers. We're all about 2.5 years apart. Terrific, fantastic. I learned later on in life that my mother actually had 2 miscarriages after my older brother. She doesn't really talk about it that much. We didn't really spend time talking about those losses, but I feel really grateful for being here, for being born.
It's such an interesting time, too, in different generations, how people don't talk about certain things, and it's interesting, right?
Very. And to be honest, I can't even remember how it became a topic of conversation between my mom and I. I don't think, it was probably, I don't know. We either, number one, were fighting, which back then growing up, of course, as a sassy girl in the house, that happened quite a bit between my mother and I. We butt heads a lot because I was, and still am, even though my dad's been gone over 7 years, my father's daughter. So my mom, from her upbringing and being raised in her family, is pretty serious. And I think that probably was the reason why she didn't share that pain. So it came up, and then we never talked about it again. And it wasn't in a, shh, don't say anything. It was like, it happened, we talked about it, and then we moved on.
How has your upbringing inspired you to now have a business? And I think you should explain to people what it is that you actually do so they understand a little bit more.
Sure.
So I think from growing up and feeling nurtured between your parents, now you get to nurture other people in a different kind of way. So I'd love for you to explain what that is to your listeners.
So mind your nest, as I said, really means mind your business, mind your matters. And growing up with my father, who's an accountant, a businessman, was always helping people. He was helping other people mind their nests, and he was helping to guide them through minding their nest. My grandfather was in the garment business, and he was helping people mind their apparel nests. And my other grandfather, who was a pharmacist, so he was obviously helping people mind their medicational life. And intuitively, I don't know, I was just like, all right, it's this built-in thing. And never really thought about it as a profession, just wound up being in industries, helping either businesses mind their nest, internally and externally, with internal clients, meaning staff, and external clients, people that were paying the bills. But it really came to fruition when I worked at a synagogue for about 8 years.
You worked at a synagogue for 8 years?
I did. I loved it.
That is so fun.
Yeah. It actually, I'm not a religious person. I'm Jewish. I'm Reformed with a twist. Maybe, definitely that, maybe not even now, that twice a year high holiday kind of girl. I don't really observe all the holidays, but I'm much more spiritual and grateful for the experience. But when I read the job description for this synagogue, I was nodding my head right from the first sentence. And I loved it. I started at a time where I think it was right at the beginning of their fiscal year, which is from July 1st to June 30th. And I think I started maybe last week of June, first week of July. And it was chaos. Papers everywhere in the filing room. Papers everywhere on the desk. It was a mess. An absolute physical mess, and then an absolute electronic mess with their accounting system. Something about it, I just jumped in, got on the floor, started organizing paperwork. And that was the business side of it. The personal side of it, while working at the temple, were the people that I worked with in the synagogue, warm and fuzzy, interactive, grateful that I was there and helping, appreciating, and definitely felt like a member of the community right from the time I walked in the door. But the bonus was when I'd get to talk to the congregants. I loved it. They come in. Nobody usually wants to see the business manager because it means that they probably owe money. And it's hard for a lot of people to take those steps and walk in the door. And I think because of my upbringing, I never made people feel bad about owing money or being fearful about coming in and having a conversation to talk about a situation that they might be going through, which is impeding them to pay their bill, and ashamed, actually, that they kept coming to use the synagogue and weren't paying. I have a lot of empathy, and I know that I'm able to connect with people in a really natural way. I've had my own struggles back when I was younger and never really wanted to have those honest conversations with not being able to pay a bill and being afraid to say those words out loud. I immediately just started having conversations with them. I understand. I'm sorry. It's okay. Let's figure out a plan. And those started to build those relationships in a very authentic way. But as I said, the demographic that I just loved the most were the older congregants. I always used to say that I felt like I was born in the wrong generation. I felt like I should have been born in my parents' and my grandparents' generation. I just loved the older generation.
God bless you.
Loved. Like my grandma still, my dad's mom was my favorite. Absolute favorite. She was like sassy and salty. She gave me Harold Robbins books when I was 13 or 14 years old, and she immediately said, "You got to put these under your bed. Nobody can see them." And I opened up like the book a couple of times. I'm like, "Grandma,
I love that.
what do these words mean?" She's, "Shh, don't talk, don't say anything." So the older congregants would come in to my office just to, as we like to say in the Jewish/Yiddish community, shmai. And we'd just chit-chat. We'd kibitz, we'd talk, whatever. I'd say, "Bonnie, oh my God, you look fantastic. Look at your outfit. You're all bedazzled." And the other thing that the synagogue did is they would host bridge games every day. And I love walking into the social hall. My mother would play bridge there, I don't know, once or twice a week.
My grandmother played bridge with the same group of women for 50 years.
Oh, yeah. Like,
it's awesome.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. My mother still plays this to this day, and she
Love
just loves
it.
it. And I love when she complains. She's, "Oh, we had a horrible bridge game." I'm like, what does that even mean?
Right.
I just played crap. I'm so upset with myself. I'm like, okay, but does the sun out? Yeah.
Right.
What does that mean? Still a great day, Mom. It's bridge. Let's get serious. But you walk into that room, and you do not walk in that room when the game starts. They are heads down. They are serious. I could not even look at my mother because the other three people at the table were like, "We're in the middle of a game." But I loved walking in there. Like, the women were all dressed up. They just had their outfits, their makeup, the lipstick. And I just loved going over and chatting with them. And my mother could see me talking at another table. She was, number one, probably not happy that I didn't talk to her longer. And number two, that I would work the room. So when I was working at the temple, and obviously 8 years is a long time, I heard a lot of stories. There were a lot of people that passed away. There were congregants that came in as a couple, and now the woman was on her own. And she really didn't know what to do because the man took care of everything. Back then, my parents' and grandparents' generation, it was pretty typical that the woman acquiesced to the man. That was really common. And acquiescence in really everything. The man would go to work. The man would pay the bills. He took care of it all. And good, bad, or indifferent, the woman, my mother, looked pretty. She took care of the kids. She was a homemaker. That's just how it was. And so I started noticing and picking up like little things that some of these older women just didn't know what to do. And they felt overwhelmed by, number one, they were now dealing with their devastation and grief of losing their spouse, A lot of them had been together for a really long
Their
time.
whole life.
Their
or
whole
whatever.
life.
Yeah.
And back then, they went from their family's house to their husband's, to the marital house. And they just enjoyed their life. And some of them, as with a lot of families, and as I noticed, the kids wanted to help their parents from afar. The kids had kids, and everybody's busy. But their mourning mom really needed help. She needed the emotional support, which she typically found with her friends because they were not an anomaly at that age. They were in their 70s or 80s, and unfortunately, people pass away. But they really needed the help with, what do they do? They're getting all this mail. They have these bills to pay. They don't know where all the stuff is. They don't know where their bank accounts are. They don't know how to pay a bill. It was really frightening to them. That's when I decided that I could do that. I can help them, and I want to help them. I wouldn't want to feel afraid. You have enough to deal with grieving, and then everything else on top of it is truly overwhelming. And for a lot of these women, they feel so alone, and they don't want to feel alone because it's the first time in their whole life that they've felt that way, because they've been part of a collective their entire life. So I was working full-time at the temple, and I can't remember, I think somebody introduced me to somebody who did this, and they call it daily money management. And I had 3 clients, older clients. One, her name was Adele, 91. Oh my God, she was so cute. She was adorable. She was like cute as a whistle. And she drove her, I think she didn't have a town car, but she had a Cadillac. It had Adele on it. And I went to her house, beautiful house. And I just went in and I got a referral from a client. And I would go in, and she had her metal 4-drawer filing cabinet, which, of course, I love. I could have a whole room full of those and fill them in a minute. So I'd go in, I'd open and sort the mail. She'd write a couple checks, or we'd write a couple actual checks. I'd call Xfinity or some of the other vendors and try to see if there was a better rate, if they had a promotion going on. I'd pull older, either investment statements, tax returns, any like really old documents that you really didn't need anymore, and just help keep things a little organized so that she can go on with her day. And she buzzed around. She would hang out in the living room and do whatever. I'd ask a couple of questions, and she talked to me a couple times about maybe a surprise bill that would come in the mail, notices that sometimes turned out to be spam or fraud.
I bet that happens a lot in the elderly community.
Completely.
Yeah.
I would review her statements that she would get from the doctor's office and match them up to her EOBs to make sure that she wasn't, being undercharged or overcharged. And then I'd at times call the doctor's office and question charges that were on her statements. She was actually an example of a client that had been pretty well trained from my predecessor. But there was one new client that I had, and it was really hard. It was a gentleman who was a very new widow. He lived in another state in the Midwest. His daughter lived in the suburbs of Chicago. And he didn't have anybody in this other state to help him. So he came to the suburbs of Chicago and moved into one of these, not skilled nursing facilities, but active communities for older adults. And I remember the first meeting, oh my gosh, he was suffering so. It was like so premature. He hadn't had time to grieve yet. And his daughter was just pushing him and forcing him to make decisions about how to pay his bills, who to pay, encouraging him and wanting him to focus on selling the house. And that was really tough. It was really tough because now you're creating this triangular relationship, me, the daughter, and then the dad, the grieving dad. And you could definitely feel that there was friction between the daughter and the father. And it was really hard. I learned that relationship and getting there is sometimes more common than we want to believe.
It happens all when someone passes on or when things happen. It pushes people to do things. It's like a fight or flight.
Completely.
It's bizarre what happens to people.
Yeah, and like I said, and listen, I've always been pretty open and honest about it, that my experience was very different. My getting here was very different. It wasn't like that with my family when my dad got sick so many times, especially when I was a freshman in college and he had his heart attack. He lived for 31 years with congestive heart failure. But he was a planner. We talked about that stuff. And so his passing was peaceful. It was filled with love and not fear about what to do next. And similarly, my mom's still alive, thank goodness. And that the end of life is very sad, no matter how you get to the end of life. We're all going to meet the same end. I would say the saying all the time, and I believe it to be true, like we're born, we live, and then we die. Nobody escapes it. And some people just have a really hard time with the decline and then the inevitable passing of a loved one. And it doesn't have to be that way. But there are a lot of people that just either don't incorporate that planning in their own life, don't know how to do it, and just want to wake up every day and take on the day. Some people want to live in bubble gums and rainbows.
I do.
Yeah. Oh, who the hell wouldn't? Come on. That's why I moved to Florida.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about creating your own bubble.
Completely.
That's not a negative thing. I think a lot of times people want to say, oh, they live in a bubble. What's wrong with a bubble? If your bubble is filled with happiness and you're not hurting anyone and you're living happy and you're speaking your truth and in your own world you're creating harmony and peace and balance.
That's right.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. And you know what? I lived in a frickin' bubble. I lived in the most real, loving, nurturing, encouraging bubble I could have ever imagined. I was truly...
With love. Lots of love, it sounds like.
Lots of love, even when things didn't go my way. And believe me, and that's part of life. A lot of things don't go your way, but you still have to get up, get dressed, put on your happy face or your fake happy face or whatever that face looks like, and take on the day. You don't, obviously. But I knew that I had to. I mean, there were times that I wanted to stay in bed and pull up the covers, and believe me, I did. But the reality is that a life well lived means the good, the bad, the ugly, the devastating, the sadness, the anger, all of those emotions you can imagine, because that is life. And I'm sitting here today telling you that, or describing to you or sharing that I was pretty damn lucky for all those years, because I was able to move through some crazy emotions as a teenage girl back then, and I have a lot of war wounds. I've got a lot of internal bruises, but somehow I just learned how to deal with it. And at the most unexpected times in my life, when my dad had a heart attack in September of 1985, and when I learned that he flatlined on the table, I was 3 weeks into my freshman year in college. I just went to the University of Kansas, and I got a phone call. It was the first night of Rosh Hashanah. My dad and my younger brother were at the Bears-Patriots game, September 28th, 1985. And my dad knew he was having a heart attack. Jimmy and my dad were at the game with Jimmy's friend and his dad. And my dad knew he was having a heart attack. I learned this 3 weeks later when I came home to see him. And he went to one of the ushers. Back then, it was Andy Frayne, the ushers. And he said, I'm not feeling well. I'm here with my son. And can you please just let my son know that I'm not feeling well? I'm going to get some help and to enjoy the rest of the game. So he was taken to the Bears medic, where the medical team for the Chicago Bears were, and he was rushed to the hospital. And all the doctors that day that literally saved his life were at the game because it was a huge game. And I remember coming home 3 weeks later and seeing my dad. Oh, my God, he had lost so much weight, and he looked so much different than 3.5 weeks beforehand. He just looked like a shell of himself. It was just a traumatic time. And he said that he heard the doctor say, "We've lost him. We have no heartbeat."
And he heard him say that?
Yeah, and he describes that one of the doctors grabbed him.
It's like a near-death experience?
Completely. And the doctors grabbed him and said, "Jay, you're scaring the shit out of me." And he said, "You're scaring the shit out of me, too."
And he remembers that?
Oh, yeah. Amazing stories. He had been in and out of the hospital for 31 years, a couple heart attacks, a couple open heart surgeries, always at the right place at the right time, remembering everything. Doctor said every time he went in for a procedure to my brothers and I, we're like, we know he probably won't make it. But I'm thinking, of course he's going to frickin' make it. Because he always did. And he always did for 31 years. It was amazing. So going back to Mind Your Nest, that really just kept like making that mind your nest, mind your house, take care of you, focus on yourself, take care of your family, just became part of my soul. It was like an extension. It was a body part. It was like, of course. And when I left the synagogue and decided to move here to Florida, I was like, Jennifer, you're either going to do this and take a chance on yourself, or you're not. And then you're going to stay working in corporate America, and you're never going to speak about Mind Your Nest again. And then 6 months ago, something happened with my immediate family, with my kids and I, that really just sealed the deal. I was on a plane. I sat next to this amazing guy, and I just decided something's got to give. Something has to change. Because, as they say, nothing changes if nothing changes, so then nothing changes, right? And we are the change. I am the change. I have to make the change if I want to change my life. Just me. I have to look in that mirror every single day and say, what do you want? How do you want to live your life?
So how does that translate with others, with what you're doing now?
So I want to encourage people and let people know that I'm here. I understand.
And people can call you. Explain your process now.
Yep.
If someone needs help or assistance.
So let's say that somebody gets sick.
Okay.
Here in Florida. A lot of older people live in Florida. And somebody gets sick, somebody passes away, and the family members live out of town. So a lot of people immediately think of immediate needs. But those immediate needs of what that family member needs, sometimes people think it's just medical assistance, somebody coming into the house, somebody helping with dishes, somebody helping them with their laundry, somebody taking them to go to the grocery store.
Like activities of daily living, like
Correct.
Things that are done with like a long-term care policy or something like that. Right.
Somebody had a situation that happened in their house, and they can't do the regular day-to-day things that they used to do. 3 days ago, they were fine. They were going to the grocery store. They were going to play bridge. They had to pick up their prescriptions. They had to mail a few checks because they got some bills in the mail. And now, all of a sudden, 3 days later, they can't do anything. So I'm here to say, I'm here to help. And people can say, we need help with these few things. My father's not well. My father took care of all the bills. My father was the one who would contact Comcast or call the HOA if there was an issue or call a handyman. And now he's not able to. And my mom doesn't know what to do. So people can call me and say, Jennifer, we need help. My mom's overwhelmed. She doesn't know where the checkbook is. She doesn't know how many bank accounts there are. And sometimes she doesn't even know how to get cash out of the bank. And that's not a fault. That's not oh, God, how could she not know how to get cash out of the bank? I think my mom still writes a check to get cash. And that's okay. She's going to be 84 next week. So let her keep writing those checks to get cash out of the bank. But all of a sudden, things were going fine with your day-to-day money manners. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I don't know what the hell to do. I'm scared. And I need help. And sometimes it's actually better for me as a completely neutral person with no emotional connection to the situation that just happened. To be like, okay. And I've learned over the years that I'm really good in a crisis because I put the emotional part of what's happening, not only to me and my experiences, but I put the emotional trauma and pain that the family's going through in a certain place. I'll say like I table it.
And that's important. You're able to look at a situation and not be affected emotionally.
Right, that's right. I'm not hysterical. I feel like and know that I'm very calming. I'm a hugger. Love hugs. Hugs are probably like one of the best things you could do to another person. You give them a hug, and you know what a hug does? It lets people know that you're there, you care, and you're going to help them. And that, most importantly, that you're sorry that they're going through this pain. Because that's where a lot of this stems from, like this pain and fear, and it disconnects you from what you really have to do to make sure to keep the lights on. So family members can call me. Sometimes a care manager, let's say if there's a care manager that's involved with navigating care for either the father or the mother who's going through, they know that the family needs help with paying their bills, with going through the office, organizing files, going through all the receipts, paying all those things. And a lot of older people, they like paper. There's nothing wrong with it. I like paper too. And they need somebody to help sort and organize, because a chaotic office or chaotic box with papers everywhere is really stressful. It feels insurmountable. So I go in there, I sit down on the floor, I dump out the paper, and I get to work. Organizing, matching things, trying to set the table to try to figure out what's going on and what needs the most attention right now, and then come up with a plan. Ask questions, try to find out who the vendors are, who they pay their most regular bills to. Do they have any payments that are on auto pay? A lot of utility companies, let's say ComEd back in Chicago, like I'm helping my mother do this. For some reason, it's taking such a long time, is to set up those really important monthly bills on an automatic payment so that, God forbid, nothing gets turned off. The phone, the computer, the lights, the gas, all those things are really important.
That is so true, Jennifer. I have to just add in, last week, for some reason, I had changed my bank account and I forgot to put my FPL bill on auto pay.
Right.
As I'm driving home, my husband got home before me and he's, there's no lights on, right? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's, yeah, I don't know how long it's been off for, but what's going on? And then I'm like, oh, crap. I logged into my account and I'm like, I haven't paid a bill because it's not on auto pay anymore. But I'm 41 years old and I don't have, let's say, insulin in the refrigerator that needs to stay cool, or certain things that need to be in place, or I have my eyesight and I can see things. But if I were elderly or if I were someone of need, I wouldn't know what to do. What if that person didn't have a family?
Right.
What if they didn't have... They don't know. Where do they go? What do? They call their friend to try to help them. But what you do is so valuable.
Yep. And I thank you. I think it's being somebody's helper in making sure that as much as possible, all the really critical things are covered. For some people, truth be told, that don't have the means to set everything up on an automatic payment schedule, find that I think sometimes like at its core unnecessary because then they lose control of paying those bills. But I will say this, and again, this is just a reality, is as we age, and I just turned 57 in January, our mental acuity becomes affected. Life, memory, brain fog. I go through it occasionally. That's just part of life.
I live my life in brain fog.
Yes. Can I tell you something? That sometimes it's really nice. It's, oh my God, give me just brain fog all day long, and I'm going to daydream, and I'm going to think about, I don't know.
Isn't it great? It's another bubble.
Oh my God, completely.
Living in the bubble's great.
It really is. It's bubblegum and rainbows.
That's
and
right.
Can I tell you that I can't stand bubblegum? I really can't. And I don't know who came up with this saying, but bubblegums and rainbows and good times and sunshine and all of those good feels. So, but when you get older, and especially if you are experiencing somebody going through a medical episode or being in decline medically or having a sudden death of somebody, your brain just is not as sharp. Let's be real. And I believe that to ask older people whose mental acuity is on the decline to know, right when you ask them, who do you owe? How many bills do you pay a month? Where's all the money? Like the who, what, where, when, why of taking care of your day-to-day money matters.
I don't know if I can answer that off the top of my head.
Believe me, I know. It's hard because there's so many. Back in the day, as I said, the older population, my parents, obviously my grandparents haven't been around for a long time, but it was simpler back then. All the bills came in the mail. They came in your mail. You opened it up. You put it in a pile or however you organize your stuff. And on the 1st or the 15th or the 15th and the last day of the month, based on money coming in when you were paid, you try to figure out, okay, I'm going to pay these bills on this date and these bills on that date, or look at the bill cycle and divide your bills into the appropriate pile based on when they're due. Because obviously you don't want to be late. Because you don't want to pay more than you have to, and late fees, especially now compared to back then.
100%, yeah.
I mean, they're crazy. And just like you were talking about auto payment, your FPL bill, you could definitely call FPL and said, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. I thought I had not auto pay, or I did, or I changed bank accounts, which happens, and you forgot. There are times, depending on how you approach, obviously, the conversation with the vendor on the phone. And you can ask, is there any way that we can waive my late fee? Is there any way, please? And
you're like an advocate for those people.
Oh, completely. Trying to connect with people on a human level and not be mad and not talk to somebody like it's their fault, and try to lay the groundwork for why you're calling, what you need, what you're asking for, asking if we could be set up on a payment plan, which for a lot of older adults that are on fixed incomes, it helps. Some people can't pay these exorbitant bills all at once.
Or they had spouses
that
passed on, and now they're stuck with, oh my gosh, my husband or my wife did this for 30 years, 40 years, and now I'm stuck going, what do? I need someone to help me. Maybe they don't have kids that live close to them.
That's right.
And they need assistance. And it's hard, not only dealing with the grief of losing someone that you love, that you live with your whole life, but now you're faced with a whole different set of tasks that you have to do to keep your lights on, literally, and you need an advocate to help you with that and not make you feel like you're less from not understanding.
That's exactly right.
Or knowing how to do it.
Over the years, there's so many terms that describe the same thing. But I like to say that I am truly a trusted advisor, cheerleader, helper. I have it in my bones. And one of the most important things when you're helping somebody with their day-to-day financial life, I want to say one thing. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an investment advisor. It's a very one-dimensional business of helping you in your home pay your bills, to keep the lights on, to make sure there's food in the refrigerator, and that there's money to buy groceries, and to really help people have some peace of mind when they go to bed. When they wake up, they can go live their life. But I will say that I do come by it honestly, having come from a family that my dad was an accountant, a businessman, my older brother's an attorney, my younger brother's an accountant. And I know how important it is to put your faith and belief and trust in another human being, especially when you need help in your home with bills and money. A lot of people get really, I'm not so sure. Where do you come from? Who are you?
I would rather that, though.
Yeah.
I would rather have someone like you help me than someone who I feel knows me and is judging me.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that, because the honest to godness truth is, and I'm going to just divert back to when I worked for my dad and younger brother at the Heckman Group. I saw tax returns with lots of zeros, and then I saw tax returns with not so many zeros. But the main thing was, first of all, it doesn't matter. Money's money. People need help, whether they don't have a lot of money, they have a lot of money, they're going through a financial situation, which most of the time means they were up high in the sky, and now a situation happened, and they have to look at scaling back. But the thing is that people want to do business with people they trust. They know where they came from. They can get an idea from first meeting you, if you're authentic, if you're real, if you really want to help them. And I never thought that a client was more or less important at its core of helping based on how much money they had. Of course, people that had a lot of money and had a lot of things and bigger houses, you're like, oh my God, I've never seen a basketball court in a house before. But at the end of the day, they're still regular people. So that part for this generation that I really want to provide assistance to needs to know that you are a trusted confidant, that you're there, you're focused, you're there to help, and that you're not going to start talking about them or, oh my God, I was just at this house and can you believe blah, blah, blah. I wasn't raised like that. I really wasn't. We didn't talk about people. We didn't talk about that at the dinner table, because confidentiality is really critical. It really is. People want to know that you truly understand, you're truly there to help, and that you truly care. And that's it. And that you're not there for any ulterior motives. You're not there to scout out the place. You're not there to take inventory of what they have or don't have. That you're just there to help. And you're going to help them get through. And you're going to help them when they may or may not know they need help. You're just going to be there for them. You're going to be there for them when they call and say, hey, this situation happened, or I don't know what to do about this, or I'm getting these solicitations on my phone, or I'm getting inundated with emails and I don't know what to do. I clicked on something.
You help with all of that as well?
Of course. Yeah.
Jennifer, you're amazing. What about people like me in my age bracket that just need an outside source to come in and look introspectively?
Yeah.
You would help people of all ages as well?
Anything.
Wow.
I will say I'm not partial to certain people. I just look to myself and my own personal experiences of being a single full-time working mother. I left my ex-husband when my daughter was 11 months old and my son was 3. And as we all know by now, I wasn't afraid about the day-to-day money matters because I knew I would be okay. I had done it. I'm doing it. But as I discussed about the acquiescence of the woman to the husband for my parents' and grandparents' generation, I wouldn't necessarily say it for maybe women of my generation that are younger, like in their 30s or 40s, that find themselves separating and divorcing that need help. I just think that you get into these roles. And there are some women that are young that are going through separation and divorce that, again, they just don't know. They had that trust and they believed in the partnership of marriage, which I do believe is very important. And husbands and wives agree on who's going to do what. And I do find sometimes that there are women that, again, need that help too, because they either got busy raising the kids, they got busy in their own profession, and they just left it to the husband to take care of everything. And now they're like, oh my gosh, my marriage is imploding. My relationship is imploding. I don't know what to do. And I need help because I don't know where all the bodies are buried. And I don't know what I'm looking at here. And again, same philosophy. I need to make sure that my lights are on. I need help. I don't know who to call. I come in there, same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter who the demographic is, really. It's anybody who feels that they need help.
And where can people find you?
You can email me at my email address, which is Jennifer, Jennifer, at mindyournest.com. They can call or text. My phone number is area code 847-421-2560. And my website is currently under construction. So I'll give you the website address just for a note, but once it's live and up and running, you'll be able to reach out to me there. And the web address is www.mind.com. So I would encourage anybody, really, young, older, middle-aged, whatever the case may be, who just feels like they need a little bit of help. Maybe sometimes a little bit of organization. Maybe they have a lot of papers and they don't know what to do with them and they're afraid to throw them out. The younger generation probably doesn't have everything in paper. They probably have everything on a computer or saved in their email, and that's okay too. It's just helping anybody who feels like they need a little bit of help getting things under control. So I would say young professionals, single women, anybody in between. I don't know, maybe young adults that came from a different way of life and are just getting started in the business world and need a little bit of help.
I love that. I think it's good to have someone to lean on. Maybe even if you worked with someone younger, that way they can set the foundation for the rest of their life. And that's changing people's lives in a good way.
I also think having a 21 and 23-year-old has obviously helped. They definitely know where I came from, and I do my best and have done to instill good values and beliefs and encouraging a savings mindset in addition to making sure your stuff is in order.
Yeah.
Right. And with the explosion of social media, there's so many people out there. People feel like they can just click on something, go to a website and read a few things, watch a video on YouTube, and oh my God, they've solved all their problems. But I think the most important thing with all of this at its core is just making an authentic connection with somebody, listening to them, trying to understand where they're coming from, and letting them know that you understand, you're here to help, and just helping them pave the way so that they don't feel so stressed out, and letting them know that it's all going to be okay. It might take a little bit, but it's all going to be okay, and that I hear them. I understand. I was young once, and believe me, I bought more black pants and bought and sold more couches than I care to share, even with growing up in the house that I did. Because we all want to feel like we're invincible. We all want to feel like we know. We all want to feel good. We all want to have a pretty pair of shoes, a new dress, a new baseball hat. And we all just sometimes need a little pick-me-up. But sometimes those pick-me-ups become more and more regular. And then we wind up with a room full of gym shoes, or kicks, I guess they call them now. I don't know, the young kids. And that's great, but we have no money in the bank. We're up to our eyeballs in credit card debt, and we feel like the walls are closing in. And it's those people sometimes that are the most important to connect with, because some of those people, again, shame and fear are these incredibly intense emotions that more than often than not, they don't want to share with their parents or somebody close to them because of that connection, because they feel like they're immediately going to be judged and criticized and scolded for all of those, I don't know, wrong choices. Somebody would say, oh my God, I look fabulous, but I'm broke. I'm here. I'm your objective, bubbly cheerleader that will listen to it all. Believe you me, I've heard some stories. Nothing surprises me. And everybody deserves to have somebody in their life say, I understand. I'm here. I hear you. I'm here to help. Call me. I offer a 1-hour free consultation. And I do that to really, for both of us, to see if we're a good match, to see if there's a connection, to try to get a handle on what the immediate needs are, what the short-term needs are, and try to come up with an idea of long-term planning. Try to bring some organization to a chaotic mess.
I love that, Jennifer. I've learned so much about you in this conversation, and I'm sure your audience will understand more about what it is that you do and how you can help people. And as her producer, I feel like it's my duty to say, please follow Jennifer on Apple, Spotify, iHeart. Leave her a 5-star rating. Share with your friends or family if you like this episode. Jennifer's changing the world one person and one family at a time.
I'm going to help you turn that frown upside down, and we're going to have a good time doing it. And if that doesn't work, we're going to have a little ice cream and some chocolate.
God bless Jennifer.
Thank you, everybody. I have to say that this is so cool. And I also want to say that my producer, Janine, is fantastic. We actually started hula hooping right before we started, and she's just been amazing. She's a cheerleader for me, really. She's this bubbly, vivacious, really interesting chick that I'm really grateful to know. So thank you. Aww. And to my audience, thank you so much. I can't tell you the goosebumps that I felt reading the reviews. It didn't even seem real. I was like, oh, look at that. That's me. So I thank everybody for coming along for the ride. We're going to have some good days. We're going to have some bad days. But you know what? That's part of life. So I'm always going to be here for you.